Or associates.
Lisa and Robyn are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robyn on the mic.
Welcome back to Lisa and Robyn on the mic. You were listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live, as well as Facebook, YouTube, and we are up on Spotify. I am supposed to ask everybody, can you please give us 5 stars on Spotify if you listen on Spotify? Can you please subscribe and follow and leave a positive note on Facebook and YouTube? It somehow helps something. It's very important.
Can you hear me? Because I can't hear me.
I can hear you.
I can't hear you guys. How are you?
Does this sound a little bit better?
I don't know. I still can't hear me.
You still can't hear you? Okay.
That's all right. Hello.
We are into our second hour with a very special guest, Naomi Major from Integrated Health Alliance, and we are talking about hormone health for both men and women, and we are going to go into our second hour where we talk a little bit about nutrition.
Hey, I heard, too, before we move on, I heard that testosterone can help ED. Like, for men, it can be a cure. Like, if it's not maybe cure is not the right word.
Yes. Oh, here, now I can hear it myself. Yeah, it's I don't know that I would use the word cure either.
That's what I said. I don't think it's the right word. But
ED has several different, I guess, components to it. Psychological being one of them as well. So testosterone. So your genital area, both for men and women, or should we say your reproductive organs, are full of androgen receptors. So when you have these cell receptor sites and those hormones come along, your sex hormones come along and bind to those cells are going to work wonderfully, efficiently. The sexual response will be there. For women, that's adequate lubrication. Oh, we're just getting right into it right now, aren't we? Here we go. Sensation, sensitivity.
Which ultimately leads to orgasm.
Strength of yes. So and that's why I'm mentioning we're not just talking about not lubrication. There's so many facets to orgasming that include sensitivity and strength of the sensation. But yes, same for men. And so when their cells are getting adequately replenished with their testosterone, they too are going to have a much more robust response. They're going to have a better blood flow and a better erection. And the energy for sex.
Yes.
Right. It helps. See, again, when you look at ED, and I'm not an ED specialist, because for obvious reasons, but
could be a great field to go into.
Yeah, I know. But the biggest part of the pie wheel when you look at why a man might have ED is actually psychological, even more so than hormonal.
Well, if you think about women being in the mood,
same.
Like I think that's the one thing that disturbed me the most was before I used to joke that my husband had like a push to start button for me. Because even if I was like, no, mentally I'm not in the mood, if you touched me enough, I would be.
Yeah. Get you there.
Because my body would start acting automatically, and then I would relax for a second, and then I could mentally be there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of times where we mentally like, that's the last thing on my mind.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things for men, and we don't give this enough conversation, is the stress level. How could I possibly think about enjoying myself and relaxing and having sex in a pleasurable way, not in an angry way?
Right.
Like, let me get this out.
And
if this is bad at work, this is whatever, so-and-so says I'm an ass, this happens, this happens, right? I think just like a woman wants to feel appreciated and treasured and beautiful and sexy, a man wants to feel strong and capable and like he's a provider. And like there's so many things that make a man feel good psychologically. And if there's nothing but the nagging of, and you didn't do this right, and you didn't take out the trash, and you didn't do this, like there could be a lot of that as well. And if it's happening at work and it's happening on the news, you're a man, you're toxic. What do you have? Do you have testosterone?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Oh, I know it. Oh. No, it's such and that's what we're seeing. And, and so these guys, and then when you think about the biological act of sex and intimacy, men have to perform, right?
Yes.
They need to achieve an erection, where females, yes, we need to be ready to receive that, but they need to perform. So, so in addition to everything they're saying, then they need to have kind of the right physiological situation going on for them to perform. And so it can be a lot. So I think testosterone's great for that, that piece of the puzzle in particular. It gives him the confidence, that extra boost, that
to know that mentally,
I've got something here, a tool on board that's helping me, that makes him feel more vital and alive and help him to perform as well. So yeah, it's great for guys.
Yeah, and I do think even the fear of, because I know that when I was having the whole, in the throes before I got bioidentical hormones, I would panic that if I have to perform, I can't. The lubrication is not an instantaneous thing that I can just make happen. Like that was the thing that I felt like I lost.
Yeah.
That
right.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Right.
Without this thing that I had no problem with before, now that I have all this problem with.
Right.
And so there was that nervousness of a timing piece of it and everything else. So
Which makes it worse.
Which makes it worse.
Yeah.
So if a guy has that, again, with the performance piece of it, that, okay, he might be in the mood for right now, but what if 10 minutes from now something, you're almost
right.
Yellowstone, the first episode when, what's the name of Kevin Costner's character?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
Daddy.
Yes.
Daddy. Right, that's what Beth is always calling him, Daddy. Well, Kevin Costner's making out with the governor, and they're like rolling on the couch, and he's like, is this not happening? Because this train takes once this train starts getting going, it takes a long time to get this train going, but once it's stopped, it stops. She's like, it's not happening.
Yeah.
But I do feel like when you're younger, you have this instantaneous response.
Yes.
Right? But that is helped by hormones and your fertile years.
Sure.
The body trying to perpetuate the species.
Yes.
Right? In some animals, it happens twice a year. In a woman, it happens every month.
Yeah.
Right? For the most part.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that changes, but you've lived your life with this body that's been, I start the car and I go.
Yeah.
The car is always ready to start when I go. And all of a sudden you're like, I started the car and the car didn't go.
Yeah.
And there's a psychological component maybe where there wasn't. Where there wasn't a psychological component before.
Right. Yeah, and that's definitely one of the benefits of testosterone therapy that I see for women, without a doubt, is just the sexual health. The lubrication is there, and even if you don't want to go the testosterone route, which we are advocates for testosterone therapy for women. I mean, definitely there's a place for estrogen, progesterone. I personally am a fierce advocate for progesterone, especially for women for sleep health issues, but mental health, emotional health issues. Okay, there is a decline of progesterone through perimenopause, and so a woman might say, I'm more irritable. I'm not myself anymore. And I'm always going to be, I'm looking at their progesterone labs, and I'm always going to advocate for that, because I've experienced personally the benefit of, that week or two before your cycle starts. And yeah, it's never pleasant. No one loves it. But then there's sometimes you're like, I'm getting pretty stabby here. Like, I don't like myself. I don't like how this feels. And one of the cool ways that you can use progesterone is you can use it cyclically. You don't even necessarily have to use it every day. You can just use it for the 2 weeks leading up to your menses, and it can give you just the relief you need. So again, letting first of all, validating women
Yeah.
that this is going on and you don't feel great, but there is treatment here, safe treatment. Like, let's replenish your body and help you. You don't have to feel these ways. So, yeah.
And then as you're using some treatments, you then have the energy and the excitement. You're feeling a little bit better. You will go to the gym. You will go to yoga. You will do these things. You will have enough energy to make yourself a meal and go to the supermarket. What are some of the things that you notice immediately make people feel better nutrition-wise?
So, we've been having this big conversation, I think, throughout society about protein, right? The importance of protein. And that's where I start with women. I say, we're not going to talk about taking away. We're going to talk about adding. And the first thing I want you to do is add protein. Now, I'm conservative. There's some voices out there that are going to tell women to be at 150 grams plus a day. That's great. If you achieve that, that's great. But if I'm talking to a woman who on average is eating 30 grams of protein a day, which to be honest is most women if they're not paying attention.
And you're restricting calories.
And you're restricting calories. And now I tell them to bring on 150 grams. That's insurmountable to them. Maybe they do it for a day or two, but then then what? Then I'm setting them up for failure.
Right.
So I really I prefer to tell women, I want you between 80 to 120. Can we get you to 80 to 120? Now, if you are a larger woman, I don't necessarily mean from a fat standpoint. I just say, if you're, you have a higher body weight, I'm going to push you more to eating more protein. But
if you're 5'10",
yes, exactly, a 5'10" woman. But if you're a tiny, more petite woman, 80 grams might be right. Again, we're not black and white. It's not a one size fits all. But we do know that more protein is hugely beneficial. Why is that? Well, going back to where we started, the muscle composition, protein is the building block for muscle. If you're a woman at the gym and you're working out or you're trying to work out and fit in what you can, but if you're not giving yourself the raw materials you need to build the muscle, then you're not going to get very far. So replenishing your body at that level.
A little bit, because amino acids, it's really what we want from the protein is the amino acids.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So when you go vegetarian, which I know a lot of women do vegetarian because we've all heard meat's bad for a while, right? We've all heard chicken has hormones, don't have that. Like you hear all this contradictory information, right? And now I know more women that are vegetarian than I know men vegetarian.
Yeah.
What do you tell a woman who's vegetarian about amino acids and protein?
Can you start eating meat again, please?
Or fish, right?
Or fish or chicken. Let's find your lane. So here, yes, I have vegetarians that I help, and will still being protein focused. It is challenging. There is a particular amino acid called leucine that's not available in plant sources. Okay, so there's that.
Can you get that from eggs?
Yes, you can get it from eggs.
Okay, so if you don't want to add in, because people have the thing about eyes.
Eggs.
One woman told me I won't eat anything with eyes, and I'm like, oh God. An egg doesn't have eyes. It's parented. It's parented. But
now you're getting complicated. I'm like, wait a second.
It's a baby.
And another interesting thought too is that if you are trying to achieve these protein goals, let's say 100 grams of protein a day, and you're a vegan or very plant-based, plant-focused, you're having to take in a lot of calories. So say chickpeas is your thing to get in your protein. That is a lot of chickpeas you're having to eat. So now you might be eating 100 grams of protein, but now you're at 3,000 calories.
Right.
yes.
Right? Is that efficient? Is that really, the best source? And before I started my hormone optimized journey, I was never a vegetarian, but I was definitely more plant focused. And I would eat, a lot of hummus, put it that way, because I'm thinking, it's clean, it's protein. When I actually kind of recalibrated my life, I looked at it, I'm like, no, this is a tub of carbs. Really, it's a tub of carbs with a little bit of extra protein in it. So I think just from an efficiency standpoint, it's very difficult. Now listen, I'm not going to demonize those plant eaters either. I've actually had periods of my life where I've done juice cleanses. I have eliminated meat for a period of time. There's a vibrancy that's to be had there. That is nice to clean out your GI tract, but I look at it as a tool. And listen to your body. If you're feeling a little sluggish, if you're feeling like, hey, my body's calling for this, go ahead and utilize that for a period of time. But day in and day out, I like to see a lot of animal protein. It's the most efficient. It's a complete protein. And you can achieve your protein goals with a minimal caloric intake as well. But there's always going to be a place in my book for fruits and veggies as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what about, so I noticed when I use my continuous glucose monitor, I actually want to try to get them to sponsor our show because I love them.
Yeah,
like, I
that's
want to
great.
talk about it so much. But they, what I noticed was I wasn't having enough fat.
Yes.
So when I added fat to things, I smoothed out my glucose immensely. So one of the things about my glucose monitor is it gives you data and analysis. Well, that's really great. I have really low blood sugar, and then I have really high blood sugar, and then I have really low blood sugar. But it gives you, hey, we notice this, and it gives you 5 articles.
Yeah.
And then it asks you, hey, you just had a spike, what happened? Or, hey, you dropped really low, what happened? And then as you type in your response, it gives you an article.
Right.
So I wasn't having enough fat at all because as a dieter, as a female dieter, I don't put butter on my bread because that's 100 calories. I don't put milk in that because that's 100 calories, right? And I think I'm doing all of this great stuff, removing these 100 fat calories. I won't put a piece of cheese on that. That's 100 fat calories. That is what regulated my blood sugar was fat.
Yeah.
Fat and fiber.
And fat and fiber, and you were able to kind of see that real time. Yeah, when I'm talking with women about nutrition, I really don't get much pushback about the protein. They get it. Okay, yep, I got to eat more protein. And then I say, and I want you to eat a lot of fat. You should see their eyes. Like, what? Fat? No, reduce fat. Fat-free. Fat's bad. Fat's the enemy. I'm not talking about processed junk fat in processed food. I'm talking about whole health food sources. So some of my favorite fat, let's just start with this, whole eggs. That the yolk of that egg is so good for you. A great source of fat there. I like cottage cheese. Dairy, that's a whole, I'm 50-50 pro dairy versus I can argue both sides. You don't want to listen to me argue both sides. I say it's individualized, right?
And it's also, so I do this too because I went through the elimination diets for 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, a good quality cultured dairy is completely different. I'm spending almost $9 on milk.
I know.
I can give up the milk, but I'm not going to give up cheese.
Yeah.
I love cheese.
Yeah.
But you can have really crappy cheese that's wood pulp for $2,
Yeah.
or you can have $6 cheese, which is, and you can taste the difference.
Yeah.
My husband jokes that can I have the wood chips from my pasta because
Yeah.
he likes that green
yeah.
thing.
Oh yeah.
But I'm buying very high quality. It's expensive. My eggs are expensive.
Yeah.
But I know that it's good quality, and now I don't have to feel bad or that I'm having the 50% argument with myself that this isn't good.
Yeah. Right. And so, it's a nuanced conversation, but like Robyn, you said cheese makes me happy. Happy is worth it, right? Happy is important. And we've been talking about that all along, the importance of feeling alive and connected and vibrant. And let's live this life now, right? And let's do it the best way we can. So this is what I love about what I call hormone optimized nutrition. It's also known as the insulin resistant diet. I hate using the word diet, you guys, but from my ecological background, that all diet means is the food you eat. Okay, we're not talking about restricting. It just means your daily. What are you eating every day?
Your daily intake.
Your daily intake.
Yeah, I want to hear about this because I've noticed, like I said earlier today before we got on the show, when I hit 51, like all these changes to my bodies, I can wake up, I can feel the inflammation in and I've also like have belly gut, like I have,
You're retaining water.
Yeah.
I feel like
and I know I've not eaten the calories. Like it's that old dieting mind that goes back like, what? I have this pooch. I'm up 5 pounds.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, what can I do? What can I do about, you're thinking it's your food. And I like, literally I've eaten soup, homemade soup that I made. So there's low sodium, anything. I know it's all good for me. And I've had turkey and cheese.
Yeah.
So I've not had a lot of carbohydrates, but yet I'm holding on to stuff. So I'm like, it's inflammation. And I think a lot of women get stuck in that, in realizing, wow, if we actually we're creating insulin resistance in our body. So I would love to hear about that.
Yeah. So I tell women protein, fat, fiber. Those are the 3 things you want on board. And I got to, again, give credit
She's
to...
getting really comfy. She's going to tell us. I see her getting in there.
Well, my pal there, Dr. Anna Kabecka, she refers to this as the magic ratio. So if you're someone that likes hard numbers, hard percentages, I'm going to give it to you. Now, again, this isn't a one-size-fit-all, but a ratio that's worked fantastically for me and for many of my clients, it's the magic ratio. It's 60% fat, 30% protein, 10% carbs. Now, Lisa's eyebrows went straight up.
Wait, so 60% fat.
60% fat, 30% protein, and 10% carbs.
So the girls growing up in the 80s who listen to the news say fat makes you fat can't even hear that.
No.
That's why my eyes did that, because that part of my brain that heard fat made you fat for the first...
I can't hear that. That rhymed.
Right.
I know. I get it.
And that's why I was saying I wouldn't put butter on my bread because fat made you fat.
I know.
So it's a fallacy.
It's a fallacy. So fat, there's so many things to say. So fat is a precursor for hormones, first of all. So if you want to give your body the environment, the biological environment that it needs to create more hormone, give it fat. So there's this hormone called leptin. Leptin is the hormone that tells your brain, I am full and satisfied, which, by the way, that GLP-1 therapy that everyone, a lot of people are utilizing, that's one of the key mechanisms that it's helping people is because it triggers the leptin hormone, that messaging signal to say, hey, I'm satisfied. Fat does that through food. And that alone thrills me about this diet because women need to feel satisfied. We are so sick and tired of feeling restricted. Damn it.
It's true.
Really? Okay, any of us can lose 15, 20 pounds if we cut out everything fun in life.
Right.
But who wants to be around us?
Who wants to be around us? I don't even want to be around me.
Right.
You're miserable, and you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop because you're going to fall off that wagon, and you ain't getting back.
Yes, my whole way of living is like no punishment. When people say diet and restriction, like there's got to be a different way. There's got to be a way around that.
Yes.
I don't need to punish myself.
Yes. I have found really including fat to be just that because the hormone that's telling me I'm fully satisfied is loud and clear.
So what are some examples of foods for, because I know for me, like when you get into micros and macros and now I've got to put my stuff on a scale and I got to weigh all the stuff out. Like I don't want to do it. I'll starve myself before I have to do all that kind of work to eat. Like, cause I'm the type of person when I eat, I want it to be good.
Yeah.
So in my own way, I was like, I don't really need that because I'm not going to waste my calories for that. But so what are some simple foods? Like, what does that look like? What does an insulin diet an insulin resistant diet look like? What are foods that people can have?
Yeah. So if you want to do nothing with tracking or looking at anything macros or anything, the best way and the easiest way is go pick up a Mediterranean cookbook.
There you go.
That would be the simplest, and just start learning to cook from there. They prioritize high fats. They're using olives and olive oils and meats, and they're not afraid of their cheeses and keep the skin on the fish and the chicken. I always say that, eat that, that's good for you. They're definitely high in fiber, fruits and veggies. Yes, they have carbs in their quinoas and their beans and stuff, but these are whole food sources of carbs. And please hear me, I'm not demonizing carbs. Carbs have their place. What I'm saying is carbs, A, should be mostly coming from your fruits and vegetables. And B, there does need to be awareness that this insulin resistance trend that tends to happen in women through the perimenopausal transition is real. And the best way to combat that is to be very mindful of your carb intake. I'm very careful when I'm, eating carbs. I wish it wasn't that way or that case. If I was a trainer, I do have different women in different programs and they're bodybuilding and they're the athletes, their carb intake's higher. Good. Do that. That there are other lanes. But in general, eating a hormone optimized nutrition day in and day out is both going to keep your blood sugar and your insulin steady while bringing that protein in that you need for that building block for the muscle. And then also you're happy and you're satisfied. So back to what that looks like. So Mediterranean. Okay. So that would be the quick one. I do recommend using a free tracker like MyFitnessPal and giving yourself 4 weeks. And just looking at the macro percentage. I call it a calibration. You think you're doing good? Okay, cool. Let's look. Do a calibration. Teach yourself. I don't like tracking all the time, but I don't. But every once in a while, I'm actually doing it right now. It's in the beginning of the new year. I just had a vacation. I'm like, I gotta reel this in a little bit, right? I mean, that's just the truth. And I don't hate on myself for that, but I just go, time to recalibrate. So I recalibrate for a period of time and make sure that my ratio at the end of the day, I'm eating healthy fats, plenty of proteins. Now that macro percentage is 60%. Sounds so high for fat compared to protein, but you're still per gram, you're still eating a lot more protein than you are fat. It's just that the caloric content of fat is so much higher, so the percentage wheel is so big. So a day in the life of a hormone optimized diet, right? So you're going to start off your morning. I like a high protein diet right in the beginning. We were talking about plant versus animal protein earlier. I do a protein shake. I think that's a great opportunity to do. I like a vegan protein. That's a nice way for me to get in some plant-based protein, and I utilize that. Besides, I don't do well with whey protein. A lot of people don't.
No.
If you are bloated or feel icky after a protein shake, don't demonize protein shakes. I think they're a really great tool.
And certain proteins can exacerbate kidney stones.
Yeah.
So if you're powdering protein,
Yep.
you have to be. You might want to go to a pea protein or
And
something.
that's what
like
I
that.
use. I use a pea protein blend. It's anti-inflammatory. Works well for me. So that's. Oh, and by the way, ladies, don't be afraid to add an extra scoop of protein. Guys too. Listen, if your serving size might be 2 scoops, get 20 grams of protein. I was like, well, what if I add a third scoop? Now I'm getting a 30-gram protein shake. Hack. Easy. Let's make this easy. So I'm going to start off with a 30-gram protein shake, and then I'm going to add fat. I always ask myself the question, where's my protein? Where's my fat? So a great fat in a protein shake could be, I like to use MCT oil. It's just a fraction of coconut oil. It's this particular hydrocarbon of coconut that goes right to the fat burning cycle, and it tends to help your body to burn fat. So MCT oil is a great little hack. I'll squirt MCT oil in my protein shake. I might do a couple scoops of avocado. I love that fat. I use canned coconut cream. It's solidified. There's some nice coconut fat. Nut butters, almond butters, good fat source. They are inflammatory for me. I know it. They can be inflammatory for a lot of people. So I personally don't use a lot of nut butters, but these are all sources of fat. So right there, I got 30 grams of protein, and now I have my fat. And then I might get hungry a little bit later. I love to use breakfast 1, breakfast 2. I know this might be difficult if you don't work from home. I work from home often, but you can play around with this and make it work for you. Then I might have a 3-egg omelet, a scramble, 3-egg scramble. I like a little feta, and then I'll eat it with salsa. I'm satisfied. Flavors galore. Protein's high in that. Good fat from that whole egg. I'm not eating it with toast and tater tots and everything. Again, do you want a piece of sourdough? Have a piece of sourdough. You're not going to restrict yourself if that's what you feel like you need, especially for menstruating women. You are going to be, your need for carbs is going to be a little higher up until your period. A very important part of this whole hormonal balance thing is nurturing your body, giving it what it needs. So I'm always going to go back to that too. I cannot stand extremes. And so, that's
because we're trying to bring our body to a homeostasis.
Yes,
No extreme on either way. We're trying to give it everything it needs.
I like harmony. Because it's not balanced. You're not always balancing.
No.
And it's like even the carbs and the proteins. It needs to be in sync with each other.
Yeah, if you're going to go rollerblade for 3.5 hours, you're going to need more carbs that day than you're
Yes.
going to do on the day that you
Yes.
sat and binge watched Netflix.
Totally.
So what are some good snacks for like people that like to, I mean, I think the whole world probably likes to snack at night, watching TV and things like that. And making small shifts. So say you are a snacker at night, and if you want to make a small change, like if you have bagels every morning for breakfast, try switching it up to do eggs in the morning or do the protein shake. It has micro shifts.
Love that.
Because it doesn't have to be
So dramatic.
dramatic and radical. Like, I'm okay. Today's the day. We're starting
No.
on Tuesday, and I'm cutting
And
out
it
all
sets
this.
you up for failure.
Yes.
You
So,
don't wanna
like,
do
what are
that.
small shifts that you could
Right.
do and say, okay, well, all right, I can be good all day long, but I still don't want to get rid of my snack. Or
So the word snack, I have made a shift there. I don't like to use the word snack. I like to use the word fueling time.
I like that.
Are you hungry? Yeah. Okay, let's go fuel our body right now. I don't care if it's 2:00 in the afternoon, it's 10:30 in the morning, whatever. Wait, check in. I'm feeling something. What do you need? Maybe I just need a glass of water. Maybe I need a little electrolyte. Honestly, a lot of times you're just dehydrated, by the
Yes.
way. So do consider that. But no, I'm hungry. Okay, I'm gonna go fuel myself. I love Oiko's brand Greek yogurt. I do a 15, 20 gram protein, and I'll do that. I'll do turkey roll-ups. I'll do cottage cheese with piles of blueberries on top. This is how I eat during the day. Those aren't meals, quote unquote. You could say they're snacks, but I view it as fueling time.
Yeah, I like
Let's
that.
Let's fuel and give your body what it needs. Nighttime, that's interesting. I am a fan. I'm not a big intermittent fasting person, but I definitely support a 12-hour window. Knowing what I know about the importance of gut health, you need to give your body that adequate clearing time for something called peristalsis as you sleep. One of the leading causes of SIBO and all sorts of other gut health issues is poor sleep. When you're not sleeping well, your gut's not clearing itself out. You got to let that emptying happen.
And your brain doesn't clear itself
Your brain
out.
doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it
a
goes
whole
on and on.
thing,
It's
yeah.
a whole thing. So I do like to see a minimum of a 12-hour window. So if you're getting up if you're eating breakfast at 7, you need to stop eating at 7. Okay. So what I've done in the evenings is so I try to be done eating by that point. Maybe I love popcorn, right? So maybe once a week. I'll let myself have a big old buttered bowl of popcorn because I love it, right? And do that. Like, give yourself, don't restrict. But most nights, what I'll do, I have a nighttime herbal tea, and I add a scoop of flavored magnesium glycinate. And I know that you're like, that's not a snack.
It doesn't sound like
It
dessert.
doesn't sound like dessert. I said it's flavored.
Right.
But listen, at night, what you're looking for is comfort. You're looking for rest, relaxation. You're looking for a routine. That's what you're looking for. So give it to yourself. Create that. What is that? What could that be? And so knowing the importance of sleep, knowing that I don't want to eat late at night, what can we do? And so I'm a huge advocate for an herbal nighttime, valerian, chamomile, passion flower, hops, any sort of organic herbal tea that you can get for nighttime. I like powdered magnesium. I like liquid magnesium, particularly magnesium glycinate, great for sleep. It tastes good. It's warm. It's comforting. It's a ritual. When we talk about the importance of psychology and hormone balance, right there, you're soothing yourself. You're creating the habit. You get your pituitary ready to create that melatonin. It's a whole thing. And so that's what I have to offer for a nighttime
I
snack.
love it.
So I do love, because the snack is a ritual. A bowl of ice cream after dinner is a ritual.
Yeah.
So if you can replace the ritualistic element, because one of the things that I think people have a difficult time with stopping drinking is there's a ritual to it.
Yes.
They get home from work, they get their ice cubes, there's like this
Yes.
very
Yes.
symbolic,
Yes.
ritualistic element. The same thing with smoking.
Yes.
They go outside, they get their coat, they've got 15 minutes of quiet,
Yes.
they step away, they have this. It's
Yeah,
a
it's a
ritualistic.
routine.
It's
Yeah.
it's a ritualistic activity,
Yes.
which brings me, when you say rest and relaxation.
Yeah.
One of the things you and I talked on the phone a little bit about, and I think this is a huge component I'm hoping we can have the next 18 minutes to talk about it, is feminine energy, masculine energy, right? When you said we're getting ready to rest and relax, that is technically the receptive feminine energy,
Yes.
right? Where I think so many of us, especially if you own a business or you go out to work, you even in a family dynamic, you can be in your masculine energy too much.
Yes.
Right? You have to go all the time for work. You're always on. You're always doing something. That's the masculine energy to make things happen.
Yes.
Right? And then to receive is the feminine energy, which I have a difficult time receiving.
Yeah.
That's me personally.
Yeah.
But someone had commented once that you have a lot of masculine, or they were seeing you with a lot of masculine energy.
Yeah.
And what is your response for, like, or how do you view the masculine and feminine energies?
I mean, we have both.
Mhm.
And I think that I think periods of your life you can go in and out, right? And what I think, though, is that if a woman is in her masculine energy too much for too long, she is burnt out. She is exhausted. I view high levels of masculine energy with survival mode.
Yes. And
again, it has its place. It has its time. Thank you that I have the ability to survive. But when you're there chronically, consistently, constantly, you're not in your feminine. And we're not talking about like pink doilies and lace, but also what if we were talking about creating an environment where things felt pretty and delicate and beautiful? Would it allow you to rest and find balance? So during the day, right, if you're a business owner, maybe you have a high powered job, there is a certain masculine energy you need to bring. Good, you have that, but you need, I encourage women to be intentional throughout the day to nurture your feminine. So what can that look like? So, a good morning ritual, whether it's meditation, whether it's yoga, whatever it might be. I like women to utilize baths more often throughout the week. The tea magnesium at night, I want men to do that as well. So, but men should nurture themselves too. Gosh darn it. Please, men.
Yeah, because I think I will say I believe that the nurture is the feminine.
Yeah.
Right? To take care of.
Yeah.
And whether that's the garden or the house or whatever, but men do have that nurture side. They might use it in a different capacity. Right? So there might be, I fill up the gas tank, I take out the trash,
I take care of. Yeah.
Right. That's the take care of is the nurture.
Yeah.
Whether you want to say it's feminine or
Provider.
not.
Right.
Yeah.
Provider.
But provider
Providing.
I have is the masculine energy because
Yeah.
you're providing for
Yeah.
others.
Yes.
To me is a different thing. But nurture and provide are the masculine, feminine to me in my interpretation.
No, I would agree with that. I think even during the day, one of my favorite workday habits, and again, I know it's not super possible for everyone, but I love to shut it all down in the middle of the day and go for a walk. Now, you might not think, oh, that's overtly feminine, but for me, it's overtly recognizing what do I need to care for me, to nurture me right now. And so often that's just shutting it all down. I'm not staring at my phone. We haven't even talked about the travesty that these blue light screens have all done for our health. That's completely a huge driver of this hormonal balance, in my opinion. But the time spent in the fresh air, the sunlight, that is nurturing me. I'm able to have the thoughts I need to have and process what I need to process, and then I'll get back to it. And if I have to come back and get back into that masculine energy, that's okay. But I'm no longer dominated. There's more harmony throughout the day.
It's like you're giving yourself a treat.
Yes.
I was looking at my phone when we were talking about the masculine, feminine energy. I saved a meme the other day, so I might not get the words just right, but it said that the masculine energy is the protector of the physical world, and female energy is the protector of the spiritual world.
Ah, beautiful.
And I love that. And I think about yin and yang, and
Yes.
you think about harmony, and you think about, even from a religious standpoint, if God created Adam and Eve, men and women are meant to be together.
Yeah.
People are meant to be together.
Yeah.
So, and what if that is, we do hold both parts, from, I think, necessity of, and even pushing the human race forward. But we need both of those. But where we reside in, and I also think healthy relationships can find that balance of men trusting the women to heal the spiritual world or be the protector of the spiritual world, meaning not spiritual world, but meaning the nurture, the interworkings. They hold the family together in the phone, make sure that, so-and-so's birthdays and, they're the temperature taker. They're the they're the thermometer. They're going to read the room. And where men being the provider, I'm like, if we find that balance in our relationship, well, at first I think you have to find the balance
internally,
in being able to trust in that process. We've definitely been in masculine energy. I don't like to be in it, and I feel like when I have to be that way, I get
crotchety.
Yeah. I was trying to think a non-cuss word to say.
No.
But
So I had the great privilege of building a business, being a entrepreneur for a decade before I joined the hormone clinic, and I loved that time, and I've learned so much. However, I was in hustle mode for 10 years. Boss babe, all that stuff that they teach you, and I learned invaluable lessons, and it was amazing and it's who I am, but it was so extreme in that mode, that hustle culture, that now fast forward to where I'm at now, even the term hustle culture or boss babe, I have a physical repulsion to it. I don't want anything to do with it.
Ooh, that looks like work.
Yes. Ew. I don't do that. No. I am but I'm finding this new lane where, wait a second, I don't have to be like that, but it also doesn't mean I have to be some sort of fly on the wall that's no longer contributing or creating. I'm a creator. A lot of us women we are creators, right? We want to create. There is a lane for that, but there's this more beautiful harmony. But you have to be intentional with if you are a working female, which most of us are, many of us are, and we're creating, we're making money, we're doing these things, and we've got a wonderful perspective, and we need to be doing that, but we really have to be intentional about nurturing and caring for ourselves. And then I know people go duh, well, yeah, duh, but it's not intuitive.
But people
are not doing it.
But what they're not doing is, people will go to the gym and they'll do the exercise and they'll try to eat the right thing. But what are you feeding your mind? What are you doing for your mind? What are you doing for your mental health?
And your soul. Your
you're
spirit.
actually not even taking time. I wouldn't say I like meditating, but I like meditating different things. Like the other day I was just playing around with it. And so sometimes what I will do is, because I always feel like I have a lot of browsers open, and sometimes I need to recenter. So sometimes I will lay down, or I will just curl up in a comfy spot. I close my eyes and I work on something, like manifesting. The other day I was working on healing my body. And I'm putting that energy into it and finding, I'm putting my energy to finding peace in my head and finding comfort and knowing who I am. And I think becoming more and more self-aware, it makes you want to make sure that you have all of these things, not just exercising, not just the right diet, just you want to have balance. And I think that's why the hormones play such a huge part.
It's all connected. And what you just said about making the time to be self-aware, I love that. And what I want people to know is that is time well spent.
Yes.
That is not just this extra little, I'm going to have this little meditate, or I'm going to. No, listen, if you are self-aware, do you realize you're connecting all the pieces? All that hard work that you're doing every day to take care of yourself, the nutrition, the exercise, the hormones that you may or may not be utilizing, whatever it is, if you can have that self-awareness, that's what I talk about health optimization. Lifestyle optimization. That's when it's optimized, is when you connect the whole thing together. So I love that. That is time well spent. And
but you just think about it, being aware. Didn't mean to cut you off, but you think about, you talking about cortisol levels and things like that. Look at the road rage that you get when you get stuck in traffic. You're attaching to that, and that's spiking that's spiking your levels. So it is spiking your cortisol. So I'm talking about being that kind of level of aware, of self-aware. Hey, this is an outside source. This is aggravating me. We said it last week. I was commenting on. We were listening to a podcast by Joe Rogan, and he's talking about this thing, and my husband was asking me if I interpreted it, and I'm like, yeah, I can't tell you exactly what he said, but how we're sitting at a stoplight. There's a Dodge Ram pickup truck that's, it's $100,000 vehicle, and he's got the little kid bumper, the sticker that's the kid's peeing on the words that says electric vehicle.
Yeah.
What did you call him?
I call him the piss on. The Calvin. He looks like Calvin.
I
from
Calvin
Calvin.
Hobbes.
Yeah. So I'm like, dude, the guy's sticker is like this big, and he puts it on there, and I'm like, I'm realizing, like, boy, everything we do is a reflection of something that we're doing, and I'm like, he's allowing his frustration at electric vehicles. He's wearing that label on it, so he's attaching to it. It's affecting him so much that he has to put a bumper sticker on it,
and that you have to consume it. That was the other piece of it.
Now consumes it. I love what you're saying here, because it's and this is where my little science brain goes. You're connecting what we perceive as the outside world that's happening around us to the internal, and realizing that they are massively connected.
Yes,
they're enmeshed with each other.
They're enmeshed. I always talk about we live in a molecular soup, and inside is a biochemical soup. I like soup, but that's how I think of it. These things they affect us. So when you realize that, and you see something, or you got road rage, all of a sudden now you get a little more introspective and say, I'm not going to respond in a negative way, because this is going to take from me.
Yes.
This is going to hurt me.
My favorite phrase is, you're either a faucet or a drain. And I'm like, everybody should be just practice being more of a faucet.
Yeah. Yes.
And like knowing that these things, like, is this good for me, or is this bad for me?
You protect your energy, you protect your space. And so I just saw this little podcast, I guess, on a video chat, and it was this lady was talking about estrogen, right, and saying that estrogen is the hormone that's like the nurturing hormone. It's the hormone that makes us take care of our children, makes us care, takes care of our family. And here you are, and you get into your menopausal transition, and that estrogen's depleted, and so does your giving 2 F's about
your NFGs.
your NFGs about
oh my God, I literally wrote something about that.
That goes away too. And so, ladies, let's embrace that, right? But again, we don't want to be crotchety and unkind. But this is what I'm finding. What I used to think in my younger years was being selfish is now necessary for me. Yeah. Where when I now think of self-preservation, protecting my time, protecting my energy, protecting my peace, it's not because I don't love the people in my environment. It's just that I love me a little bit more.
Yeah. And one of the things, so we actually have a high listenership of men. And you would think, 2 girls, we wouldn't. We actually do. And one of the things I wanted them to take away from this, because we talked a little bit about male hormones, but we talked a lot about women, is that they all have a woman in life that they're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Right. I've been married to this broad for 23 years, and now I hate her for the last 7. Yeah. It's not, there's something going on.
Yeah.
Right. And if you can help, if you can also identify and see that, she's dealing with something kind of a little traumatic.
Yeah. No.
Right. If we dealt with menopause almost as like a small trauma.
Yes.
I think of it this simple way alone. Our entire life, we are wanted for the ability to make babies.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we no longer have that skill or capacity. And where do we, when you have
it's
been
like losing a testicle.
Yes. Imagine all of a sudden someone came along and snipped your balls and said, no.
You're going to get me fired up here.
What do I do with that?
Because if men suddenly didn't have testosterone, they would within moments have, 100 doctors willing to prescribe them testosterone and take care of them.
The government would be funding it.
Yes, the government would be funding it. Meanwhile, women become completely androgen depleted.
Get it through WIC.
Yeah. It's like, here's some coconut lotion and, go suck it up. It's like,
and
what?
put her in the corner. Put her in the corner. I don't like her.
You know, it's true. How can men help women during this transition? I think, Robyn, you were talking about the masculine and feminine, that beautiful energy. The more that men can step into their masculine, the more, like in a loving way, of course. I think masculine energy is a beautiful thing. Help a woman to feel more secure and loved and stable will allow her to be more in her feminine, and she needs to be more in her feminine for her to flourish and blossom.
Especially when she's
and
missing.
yes.
I feel like that's what I was missing. Was like, I used to be a woman. All of a sudden, I feel like a woman. I feel very guy right now.
But see, that's where I feel like it's yin and yang. When a guy can step up and be that for his partner, then she's able to fall into that feminine energy.
Yes.
And that's such a healing energy
It's
for
a
men.
healing. Yes.
And it's not a competition. We should be
No.
teammates.
Yes.
We should be teammates lifting each other up, not
Yes.
opponents. And, you know, because I do think that men need that feminine energy
Yes.
to be, you know, to be cared for, to be nurtured for. And to me, that's harmony.
Yeah.
That's harmony and being able to be soft.
Yeah.
And if you're not, I feel like I lose who I am if I'm not allowed to be feminine. If I'm always having to battle, if I'm not allowed to, you know, express my worries, my concerns, my fears, or I'm a verbal processor. So sometimes just getting it outside of my body makes me feel better.
Yeah.
And having a partner to being able to, hey, she's celebrating our differences and knowing that I'm not a guy and I don't want to be a guy in our relationship.
Right. Right.
Being able to celebrate that. And
I'm not trying to be that. I don't want to be that.
Right. I don't want to be in competition with you, and I don't want it to be a pissing contest about, you know, whoa, or I'm always got to take care of her, or, you know, blah, blah, blah. No, there's so much healing in feminine energy in the household, in the home,
and we need that for ourselves.
Yes.
I almost don't know if, as feminine energy of nurturing and taking care of, if we aim 10% of what we've aimed at the world of trying to take care of and fix the world, if we can aim 20% at ourselves, we could fix ourselves.
And that's just it. And so when I talking to a woman about optimizing hormones and all the various facets, that's a piece that we discuss. What can you do to care for yourself? And just like I can get the same face when it comes to, hey, how's your sex life? I get that face. When I say eat lots of fat, I get a certain type of face. And here's the other one. How are you caring for yourself? I get that kind of a face. I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I had one client struggle with you know, really getting her hormones where she wanted to, but she was never doing the things that we set out for her to do. And the reason she kept saying was, I'm too busy, I'm too busy, I'm too busy. And I'm like, well, but that's it. Don't you see? This is it.
Right.
You need to slow down and make time for yourself. And again, people think, what does that mean? Pick up a book, read a book?
No, it's like what you just did. Like what you did. Go take a 20-minute walk. Go 10-minute walk. Do something.
Stop doing something for someone else. The thing that you inserted someone else instead of yourself.
And stop viewing it as, oh, this little extra on the side. It is good and it is worthy and it is time well spent.
It's valuable.
It's valuable.
I always just thought, like, if we could actually brainwash everybody to wake up in the morning and say, what am I going to do today that brings me joy?
Yes.
When you actually start looking for joy, you put the word in, or you find, what am I going to do? I am going to do something today that loves on me. If you could like rewire everybody's brain to say something like even the joy, like literally those thoughts right before you get out of bed and put your feet down, set an intention that you're going to love yourself or you're going to find joy.
And I love the idea too of not waiting for your weekends to relax or enjoy. I say, how can I do this every day? What are those little moments throughout my work day that I'm going to enjoy my day? One of my ways to do that, I love listening to music. When I'm home, I put my surround sound on, and if I'm working from home, I have my favorite music. If I'm in the car, just these little things to nurture.
Well, we could talk to you for another 7,000 hours. You're going to have to come back on.
I know.
Because we went into the next hour. But thank you, Naomi, from Integrated Health Alliance, for coming on our show. We loved having you. We will have you back. You're listening to Lisa and Robyn on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. Until we see you next Thursday, have a great week.
Jimmy Carter and I were rivals.